At this time, I'd ask for a moment of silence, and I'd ask that we all keep Mr. Hanyu in our thoughts. Councilman Bartolomeo, will you lead us in the salute to the flag?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd just like to, we had a correction today. We had an inaccurate date sent to two separate bodies, one to the paper, one to the surrounding communities. So we're not dealing with ordinance number 1485, 2012 tonight. We will be on the 17th. With that being said, I'd open to the public.
Mayor, if we could just take a straw poll. Just so the council's aware of that date.
All right, so I'd ask for a straw poll moving the meeting from tonight to the 17th.
Councilman Doran?
Yes.
Councilman Monty?
Yes.
Councilman Goodell?
Yes.
Councilman Jordan? And Councilman Bartolomeo?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll be dealing with ordinance number 1485, 2012 on December 17th. And at this time, I would like to open the meeting to the public. I'd like to announce that Dave Jordan has just arrived. This time, I'd like to open the meeting to the public. Mary. Everyone has 5 minutes open to the public tonight.
Before I get involved in the questions I still had about the ordinance, I just wanted to say that, again, in the parking lot of 725 River Road, we have a huge, I don't know what you call it, a living trailer, I forget what they call it. Yeah, from Montana. And next to it is either a, I think it's a jet ski, could be a motorcycle, but I think it's a jet ski on a
I think you're right. It's a trailer with a motorcycle on it.
Yeah, it's a motorcycle, okay. Which we had gotten rid of the ones that had been there before. I don't know why this one's back. Certainly it must have come after the storm, because the storm would have, you know, inundated it if they hadn't. So if someone would look into maybe removing it. We're finding out why it's there. I mean, maybe it has a reason to be there. The other thing is the Route 5 turn. We have to get lights put up there. Somebody's going to get killed.
I agree.
And another spot was, I forget where it was, when I think of it, another street light is out, and again, at another spot that needs, we really need lighting for it because it's dangerous. So if you could, we push to get those things back up. I don't know if they're connected. I know the light is up there on the turn, but I don't know if it's corrected, you know, if it's connected or not. In terms of the ordinance that you're not hearing tonight, I had a question as to what happened with the, because I know it was advertised in the paper to be heard tonight and to be voted on tonight. It was on your agenda. And the towns got notice on November 20th that it was for the 17th. So I don't know why it was published to be tonight if the surrounding municipalities knew that it wasn't going to be until the 17th. Question I had. In terms of the ordinance itself, now that I got a copy of the one that's going to excuse me, going to, that the planning board had gone over. I did have a question on the list that was included in that, because 2 of the lots appear twice, which would not be a problem, except that the zone where the 2 lots are listed are 2 different zones. I'm trying to see if I can find it quickly. Okay, it's lot 93. It's, I'm sorry, it's block 93, Karen, lot 1.01. It appears twice. In one spot, it's listed as in the MXD3 zone, and in the other spot, it's listed in the MXD2 zone, just below it. The MXD3 is first.
I'm sorry, with block 93.
No, yeah, 93, lot 1.01. So I gotta put my reading glasses on.
1.01 appears twice.
Yes,
Block 93.
yep.
Well, these are. You don't have it on the list.
Do you have 93, block 2 twice?
93 is here.
Yes.
Oh, that one is twice. Oh, that one is twice.
And they're 2 different zones. Well, not when you have it in the same thing. All right, you know, and this is the problem I'm having with this, and it's a real problem. This is now the 2nd copy of the ordinance that I've gotten from the borough. The first one, when I spoke at the planning board, as you know, was not what the planning board had received, what they were working off of. This is now the one that they gave the planning board. This is what I've been told. Ms. Gregory now has different numbers. What is the ordinance you are going to pass? Where can I find an actual copy of that? Because obviously when I'm operating it, I'm not getting it. Did you change that since the planning board meeting?
I did not officially make the changes. I'm not quite sure who did. I'm assuming that it was Phil Bosch's office. They actually, I crafted the original draft, and then they put this together with legalese. This is the copy I received from Greg.
When? It's the timing that's apparently.
It was after the planning board meeting.
Okay.
And I wrote 12/3/12 copy because I didn't print it out until today to make sure that it was the correct one, and that's why I have it
Okay.
here. So this is the most recent copy that I have received.
So now if I operate again, you think I might get that one? And is that the one that's been published in the paper that's gonna be, you know, passed?
I think Barbara's been out, Mary, so based on your request, the last time it was when you attended the planning board meeting, your copy differed from the planning board copy. So I think the
Pages,
last,
though. It was pages, right?
No, it was some information, but it was not anything apparently that was, you know, because it said, the one description of the thing was like, 9 stories, 15 feet. And it should have been 150, which I presume that's what it was supposed to be, but my copy did not have that on it. And then we discovered that we were working off 2 different copies. But now, this is the copy that the planning board was working off of.
right.
I don't remember them saying this lot appears twice. So I don't know who got to change it, and obviously they didn't change it completely because the other one, although it appears twice, it's the same zone. But on this one that I have, which is the one that I received from the borough clerk under my Oprah request,
Right.
has 2 lots that are the same, that are in different zones. So who picked out which zone they were actually gonna be in?
Well, that's what you just corrected now on your version, right?
Well, there is one lot that is listed twice, and I'm just assuming that that was a typo. But one of them that she mentioned was not, which is the 93101. I do not have that listed twice in my version.
And what do you have it listed as? What zone?
93101, existing OR1, new zone would be MXD3.
Okay, so the one that's on here that says MXD2, that I have on my,
That is incorrect because the planning board had made recommendations.
But they didn't make a recommendation to change this.
Yes, they did.
They didn't indicate that these two were, that there were two lots that were listed twice with two different zones applied to them.
No, they did not, I don't remember them stating that, but they did make a recommendation for other lots to be rezoned to MXT.
And you know for sure that these are these lots. See, I shouldn't say I can't believe, I don't think anybody knows what they're actually passing. I don't know what the ordinance is.
Well, there is, the version that was supposed to be adopted this evening was the version that incorporated the recommendations of changes from the planning board. Now, I'm assuming that's the version you have.
Yes, that's what I do,
So-
that's what I do have, but there is one lot that's listed twice. It doesn't recommend different zones, but it is listed twice.
So the residents or the public doesn't get a copy of that ordinance? So we don't know what you're passing, would have passed tonight? Because we
Well,
wouldn't have had it.
That's what was going to be discussed this evening.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, the recommended changes from the planning board.
Okay.
So,
And when do we get a final copy of what actually is the ordinance that you intend to possibly pass on the 17th?
we can give you a copy of this version if you want to request another document later today or tomorrow, and then we'll send you this most recent one.
Okay. Does this not have to be published?
I'll defer to council on that.
Does this not have to be published? I mean, the final one that they're actually going to vote on?
It would be, at the time that the ordinance is going to be voted on, it would be made available.
Not made available, does it have to be published? We're talking about a master plan change here, and I believe that ordinance has to be published.
Typically,
When
that's
it's-
what's
when it's
done
approved,
after
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
the adoption.
Yeah, but it hasn't, apparently it hasn't been approved yet, because I got, this will now be the third copy of it, version of it, I should
Well,
say.
it hasn't been adopted yet.
Yeah. But the public gets to see it before you adopt it. Otherwise, how do we comment on it if we don't have it? I understand when you introduce it, we don't get a copy until after it's been introduced. That, I understand that. But before you pass it, before it's voted on and approved to become an ordinance of the town, especially when you're talking about a master plan, it has to be published in the paper so the public knows what it is. And I want to know when is it going to be published. I don't want to ask another Oprah request and get something that may then change again before you vote on it.
Again, based on what the clerk typically does is once the ordinance gets adopted, she'll send it to the newspaper for publication. So right now, the notice that's posted in the paper is basically a synopsis of the ordinance in general, of what it was supposed to, or the intent of the ordinance, but not the ordinance in its entirety. And I'm assuming that's what'll happen once it gets adopted. I can't speak for the clerk because she's not.
So the public cannot see what the actual ordinance is until after it's adopted.
I don't see why not. That's the copies that we've been working through have been provided to you at your request.
Yeah, but you may change it the night before, the day before, and I still wouldn't know what it was.
Well, again, I was under the impression if the ordinance was to be adopted this evening, those changes would have been discussed prior to the adoption.
Okay, so apparently I'm not getting any definition as to whether it actually has to be published ahead of time or not.
I believe the public notice satisfies that requirement.
Okay, and no one needs to have a copy of the actual, well, okay, but I just have it, so only the people that know really are the towns, and if they get a copy of it, and the people who are actually own the properties that you have to notify that
Right.
you're changing their zone.
I believe that's correct.
And everybody else can just wait until after it's published, after it's approved. Is that correct?
Well, I can't speak for the procedure. If that's the procedure, that's the procedure.
I don't, how do
Yeah.
we speak on it? That's my question. How do you speak on an ordinance when it's being introduced and make intelligent comments on it if you haven't even seen the ordinance and you don't even know if it's the same one that you've been given?
No, I understand.
I just don't understand how that works. I would think what that does is it leads you to, 45 days to file an appeal, which is probably what will happen. Thank you.
Valerie?
Stand here. Valerie Bordina, 16 Hudson Terrace. I don't understand this. You're doing something very serious. You're making a change to the master plan. A member of the public is asking a question. She's met with blank stares. First, I don't understand how our planner didn't pick up the discrepancies, number one. Second, I don't understand how any council members, if they read it, didn't pick up any of the discrepancies, because members of the public are reading this, actually reading the documents we're able to obtain, which, this is the third meeting that the documents have changed and the public were aware of it. Now, don't you usually publish an ordinance when it's introduced?
The notice of the intent was published. Again, the requirements were, there was a consultation between the Borough Attorney's Office and the Borough Clerk's Office. So I believe whatever legal requirement was met with that notice. And like I had explained to Mary, I believe once the adoption takes place, it'll be published again in its entirety.
Should I ask the attorney, do you have a legal requirement to publish the the introduction of a master plan once it's been formally introduced with the council vote? You don't believe so?
I don't believe so.
Okay. You actually are from Phil Boge's law firm?
Yes.
And he was our borough planner for 10, 20 years, Brian? And this is a question mark here?
Well, that's
I don't understand
my
this. I
answer.
don't understand this.
Typically, when an ordinance is introduced, it either gets published in its entirety or published in abbreviated form, in a summary form,
So you have a choice?
depending upon the length of the ordinance.
So it's your
So
choice.
in this case, it was published, I believe, in a summary format.
Really?
which
Usually,
complies
law
with,
is not that ambiguous. I don't understand. There's no answers. There's just blank faces
It
here.
depends on how long the ordinance is.
So what's the cutoff?
I
Who
believe.
decides how long? 2 pages, 3 pages, 5 paragraphs? I don't understand this. I don't understand how a council member isn't upset that they look foolish. And our planner, she never comes prepared. You ask a question, she doesn't have maps. We're talking about the master plan amendment here, or change, and no preparation. I don't understand this. I don't understand this. This is the third ordinance change, and the public has no way of knowing. It's a disgrace. It really is. When I came and the council was introducing and voting on the budget, after the vote, everybody patted themselves on the back. Good job, good job, good job. And I stood up and said, my taxes went up every time I get a tax bill, my taxes go up. And a few council members, disagreed with me, and went up 5.9%. The only other town that it went the same is West Patterson. And I can understand West Patterson, it's a big city, but I don't understand Little Edgewater, and I don't understand having to go above the cap. One of the 3 towns that's had to go above the cap, and yet we have 5.9 increase. Brian, I'm sure when you were sitting here, at least I would have gotten an answer. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Brian Christensen.
Mayor, thank you. Brian Christensen, 1 Moorings Lane. I just want to say it was nice that the former councilman Bardinas got up and talked about the increase in Edgewater and the chart that the county put out this past weekend. But what she failed to point out in that chart is that Edgewater, on that chart, has the 2nd lowest median taxes in all of Bergen County, with the exception of Teterboro. And West Patterson, by your way, I can talk to whoever I want. This is a public
No,
meeting.
you're not. That's not the rules.
By the way, West Patterson is not a big city. West Patterson is a small community, okay? And it's now called Woodland Park. That's all, Mayor. but the second lowest median taxes in all of Bergen County.
Highest increase,
Michael?
highest tax increase.
Excuse me, you want to spout the rules, but you don't want to live by them.
I do live by them.
This one?
Mike Trachtenberg, 300 Winston Drive, Cliffside Park. Regarding this discussion of the ordinance, as you're probably aware, I republish ordinances, and I have for many years, and I have never seen an instance where it was introduced and not published. As Mary noted, how would the public know what the ordinance says and come here and speak intelligently about it without having it published? I mean, I guess the more astute among them can do an oath request, but I can tell you probably maybe 100 people know what an oath request is. My other comment is I'm aware of, I wish I met one personally, I'm aware, the short story is the people opposed to this ordinance have already lawyered up. I already met one lawyer who was retained on Saturday. Friday I spoke to him Saturday night at a party. I suggest you really dot your i's and cross your t's on this one, rather than just have it thrown out as stupid technicalities. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down, Michael. Anyone else wish to be heard? Sir?
Where do I stand here? Here is fine.
Right there.
My name is Grikovic. I'm from North Bergen, New Jersey. I have some questions for the density of 100 units per acre in R5 zone. Do we know approximately how many acres we are rezoning?
There's several parcels, I don't know what the total acreage is of all the
Approximately.
I can't even gather a guess. I would have to literally take a look because it's several areas, which would
20
cover several
acres.
acres.
30 acres, 50 acres?
I can't make that estimation. I would need to literally take a look to figure that
Okay.
out.
So let's say if we assume it's, I estimated maybe between 20 and 25 acres. So if we put 100 units per acre, that's about 2,500 units. Would it be fair to say to put 3 to 4 people in the unit?
No, absolutely not.
No, 3 people?
No, no.
Single person per unit?
It depends on the type of unit, it depends on how many bedrooms. 3 and 4 is actually very high, particularly for a high-rise.
So 2 on average?
I don't know what the average is, but I know that it is less than 3 and 4. It's probably between the 1 and 2 range for a high-rise, which is what the R5 district is.
So if we, let's say if I assume 2, there will be a 5,000 extra new residents just in the R5 zone?
No, because several of the areas have already been approved for.
But I'm talking about the new properties, I'm not talking about the old properties that have been already approved. Yeah, about 20 to 25 acres.
Well, that's what your assumption is.
Yeah.
I need to, again, take a look. And obviously, if you do the math, it's simple math.
Right.
So there could potentially be an increase based on the number of acres.
But shouldn't it be prudent to do something like this so we know the number of residents are increasing the town by 40%, by 30%, by 20%? So we know what kind of impact it's going to have on traffic, what kind of impact it's going to have on storage system, on entire infrastructure, so you know how many millions of dollars the residents of Edgewater will have to pay for those developments? Wouldn't it be prudent to have? That's not required in the New Jersey Administrative Code?
No, it is not a requirement, and the infrastructure is already there. And the state plan advocates for development and redevelopment to occur in areas with existing infrastructure. The infrastructure is already here.
So we have enough school seats and everything for this extra people? Was
Again-
that study ever made?
Again, as I stated, one of the reasons, we went through this with the master planning process, with the master plan committee. And part of that process was discussing the number of school children that emanate from certain types of developments. And what we found is that high-rise development produced much less children than the other types of developments that are found in Edgewater. So that is also one of the impetuses for rezoning certain properties into the R5 district, because we're not going to have many school children. The perfect example would be, this was, again, discussed at a prior council meeting as well as planning board meetings. An example, Hudson Harbor has 246 units. There are 4 school children that are located in Hudson Harbor, and that came directly from the Board of Education. So that's not even me doing a survey, it's directly information from the Board of Education. So that's the type of development we're talking about. We're talking about high-rise developments that really do not produce many school children.
Okay. I have a next comment that I would like to make on I did look at the New Jersey Administrative Code about the riverfront development, and it reads in one of the paragraphs, the high-rise structures are encouraged to be located in the urban areas of existing high density, high-rise and or intense settlements. But these are not. These are actually spot ones where you have a low density of 25 units per acre, and all of a sudden you put 100 units per acre. Well, why was that in particular done?
That's not true. Actually, there's developments within the borough of Edgewater that have densities that are actually much greater. That's why we proposed that type of density. They've already been approved at densities that are between 70 to 120 dwelling units an acre. So, it already exists.
So we do have developments that are 120 units per acre.
Yes.
You do that. You would just know which one it is?
Senior housing.
Senior housing is on it.
And actually, I believe it's more like 116 or something around there. That, again, I have to check, but I know that again, that was also one of the studies that we did during the master planning process.
But these are already projects that were approved?
Yes.
And they are already built?
Yes.
Okay. What about the second recommendation by the New Jersey Administrative Code? It says the high-rise structures with the view of a coastal water shall be separated from coastal waters by at least one public road or equivalent area at least 50 feet wide.
I really need to take
place?
a look at the requirements that you're talking about. I don't know where they're located in the code or for what.
Well, it says in the New Jersey that at least 50 feet should be allocated between the waterfront and the building, at least. But I don't see that in the zoning ordinance that you proposed for the R5 zone.
Well,
Actually, you propose 40 feet minimum rear yard, and then minimum side is at 25. And when we spoke about the front yard, what does constitute the front yard on the building that will be located, let's say, on the waterfront? What is the front yard?
the front
Would
yard.
it be oriented in any direction, or just?
Our front yard faces a public street.
Could we have a public streets that are going to go perpendicular to the river, and that could become a front yard?
It could be a possibility.
That is a possibility, so it could be all around. So I think it would be prudent then to have a 50 feet setback requirements for those buildings to be located between the river and to just provide for the open space.
We already have a requirement for the walkway, so anything that's built along there is already going to have a right of way for the walkway.
But that is only how wide it is.
And then it'll be 40 feet from there.
It'll be 40 feet minimum from there?
Yep.
Okay. Well, let me go to the number 4 paragraph in the recommendation. The proposed structure.
I really would like to see what you're quoting because I don't know if this is something
It is New Jersey Administrative Code.
But what?
Okay, I'll give it to you.
A section of
I have a copy.
administrative code is quite extensive,
Yeah, I understand.
so I don't know if this is something that does relate or does not relate to the borough of Edgewater.
Well, it says it relates to waterfront development, so New Jersey needs to go there, and yellow it, so, all right, there's buildings, this here. That's the paragraph number 4 right now. Which it says that the proposed structures must not block the views of dunes, beaches, horizons, skylines, rivers, bays, or oceans that are currently enjoyed from existing residential structures, public roads, pathways, to the maximum extent practical. Was that taken into consideration? There are a lot of houses that are behind those developments. Would actually protect citizens as me. They live over there for 20 years, pay very high taxes, and now the buildings will actually block the views of those skylines and everything else. Was that ever taken into consideration, studied in any way? How those buildings could be put together?
That's a product of design. Planning and zoning is not actual site design. So to say that that was studied, I can't say that it was studied because that's not really the requirement of planning and zoning. You don't design a project and then actually create a zoning ordinance typically. It may differ in some cases, but that's not typically how it gets accomplished.
But how would you interpret this paragraph in the New Jersey guidelines?
Okay, well, could you please point that out to me in the sheet you gave me?
Yes, you can have that.
No, I meant where were
This-
you,
This is the paragraph.
where were you put it?
Paragraph number 4. It says must not block the views.
This is the New Jersey Administrative Code?
Yes.
I'm not quite sure if this is applicable to Edgewater. I'm gonna have to research that because it also talks about Atlantic City.
Oh, yes, it does. It talks about
So-
that. Atlantic City is exempt from that. As if I could,
Catherine, do you need time to research that?
Well, yes, this is just an excerpt, so I'm not quite sure where it's coming from, if you will, so I need to actually look up the New Jersey Administrative Code in the section, because it's just the excerpt of the one specific section, and I don't know what the actual overall section is. Because it also talks about, in the section before that, National Defense Facilities Use Rule. So, I don't know what the actual overall title of this chapter is. So I'm gonna have to do some research on this. I can't answer these questions without knowing where exactly it came from. I'm not putting out
I
there.
would like to ask you, since we have a limit of 5 minutes. or
Your
plus
time is
minus-
up, actually.
Yeah, I would like to ask, are we going to have any more opportunity to talk before this ordinance is adopted?
You'll be able to speak on the 17th.
Are we going to be able to ask questions, Ms. Gregory, at that
Yes.
time? or
Yeah.
She'll be here.
We'll be able at that time,
Yes.
so, because we have a lot more questions,
Okay.
lots more, which I would like to discuss. I myself have architectural firm, so it's one of those processes where you're learning along the way too.
Well,
Thank you.
I made my card available to you, so there's plenty of
Okay.
questions that you can also ask me without being here, if you need to contact me. Because I may need to contact you as well about this,
Okay,
so if you could reach out to me, that'd be
all right,
great.
thank you.
Thanks for coming down. Anyone else wish to be heard? Ma'am?
Kathy Kirkhope, 8814 Churchill Road. I have a question. At the previous council meeting and the planning board hearing, we pointed out the fact that some lots do not exist on the current tax map. And we asked Ms. Gregory to give us the street addresses at least so we can identify these lots. Do you have that list for us?
No, I do not. I was directed not to actually create a list of addresses. Some block and lots, while they may have been subdivided, may not have an actual street address as of yet. We need to revise the tax maps. I do have an actual map of proposed zoning that goes along with the ordinance, which can help you identify, the block and lots.
But the block and lot numbers are not on your proposed map, so I have no idea where they exist. For example, block 86, lot 19, can you show me where that is? Because it's not on the tax map. So you're misleading the public, you're putting lots that don't exist on the tax map.
I'm not
The
misleading.
easiest-
I have to argue
the
with you on that.
easiest-
I'm not misleading.
Okay,
the
so
public.
why can't you put the block and lot number on your map? So we know exactly this is block 88, lot 5, or whatever. This would be very clear to the public which lots are being rezoned. These lots don't exist. So how do I know where is block
Actually,
88,
no,
lot
the lots exist. They do not.
They don't exist on
on
the
the
tax
tax map as of yet.
That's why the public doesn't know where they are. And we asked you for the list, at least for the street addresses. It's 120 River Road. I can Google it so I can have an idea where this lot is located. This is the third hearing. We don't have that information. And I think that that would be the first ground for appeal. The public must be able to identify the lots that are being rezoned. This is a huge rezoning, huge. You are increasing the density. iPark lot has 25 units per acre. The neighboring property which Mr. Davies bought, you are increasing by 400% to 100 units per acre.
We're
And
not,
you're
we're
saying
not increasing it because you can't use iPark as a comparable.
it's a
iPark was part
neighboring
of a
property.
redevelop, it was
It's
part
right
of,
next to it.
it was part of a redevelopment plan, and furthermore, there's also commercial space on the iPark property. So you're comparing apples and oranges. You are not making the right comparison.
Okay, by putting 100 units per acre in that riverfront section, you're allowing, there's about 15 acres, 1,500 units. With 2 people per unit, that's 3,000 residents, right there, on one lot, being rezoned. What is the current population of Edgewater?
I don't remember off the
Does
top of my
anybody
head
know?
what the
Does
exact
anybody
number
know how
is.
many residents you have? Can anybody answer that question?
11.3,
I know it's
11.5.
11.3. So with 1,500 units, times 2, at least 2 per unit, that's 3,000 people. What does that constitute as a percentage as to your population? 20%, 30%?
It's
That's only
got to
two.
be close to a quarter, right?
That's only
Somewhere.
3 lots. That's waterfront lot. You have another 30 lots being rezoned. And Ms. Gregory, who prepared the planning report, she doesn't know what is the increase in population because it wasn't calculated. I think it should be calculated. I think there should be a traffic study on the impact on the neighboring properties. You don't have one town involved. You have North Bergen across the street, you have Cliffside Park. You're blocking everybody's views by putting 20-story tower, which could become a 40-story tower. Because Ms. Gregory testified that the sliding scale could raise the building to 40 stories high. And Mr. Davies says in his article that he's going to put a couple of those high-rise buildings on this particular riverfront lot. It's in the newspaper. So there could be 6 stories blocking my views and everybody else's. And our property values would go down and we would lose the views. And that's against the New Jersey Administrative Code that my husband just gave her. So this should be researched. I don't know if you do take exhibits. I have pictures of traffic on River Road. If you do take, I would like to introduce them.
Showed it at the planning board, right? Last week.
Yes. And I really request that those lots that do not exist
Can you pass them down?
will be identified, at least by street addresses.
Well,
Or
you
show
know,
them on the map, show them on the map,
well,
on their zoning map. Block 88, lot 15. So when I look at your map, I know which lot it is.
you could easily also make an open request for the block and lots that you do not know where they are and to get the street addresses. Just to the tax
But
department.
shouldn't that be clear in your report? Why should the public go out and then, start getting information because it's not readily available?
Because what we put together is a legal document. Legally, we put in the block and lots. We don't put in the street addresses. I can help you get that information, but I would do the same thing you would be doing. I would be making requests to the tax department.
But you have that
Man.
information, because you prepared the.
I don't know what the street addresses are.
But you
I know the
Are you
areas.
required to provide them?
No.
Can you tell me who asked you to rezone these lots?
No
Mayor
one,
and council did.
the mayor and council didn't ask me to rezone the properties. The mayor and council directed me through actually beginning with requests of the zoning board to look at zoning in the southern area of Edgewater. That's what they directed me to do. They didn't direct me to actually rezone properties. They said to take a look at the properties to see how we could prompt redevelopment on the outstanding parcels in the southern end of town that were in need of development or redevelopment. So no one specifically said rezone these properties.
Okay, so how did you come up with a height of at least 20-story tower on the riverfront property where there is no high-rise building here
Parks and
on the
Harbors.
riverfront?
Hudson Harbor is 22 stories tall, that's on the east side of the road.
Okay, but that's not southern end of Edgewater. You just
But
said
it is,
southern end of Edgewater.
yes,
Do we have a high-rise? What is the tallest high-rise building?
That is
Because
the-
I-Park is 7
that
stories
is
high.
the tallest high-rise building that's east of River Road. But there are other high-rise buildings, namely Waterford Towers, which are located in the direct vicinity, which they are 15 stories.
But they're not on riverfront. And New Jersey Administrative Code has particular codes pertaining to the riverfront development, which was not taken into consideration. And I have one more question. There was an application before the Board of Adjustment where Ms. Gregory recused herself because of a potential conflict by an application by Mr. Davies. And she was asked to step aside. When you're proposing such a significant rezoning, don't you think you should hire an independent planner who was not involved with a developer who has at least 10 lots that are being rezoned? That's a question to the mayor. No.
Can I answer it?
Go ahead.
I do not have any direct involvement with Mr. Davies. My prior partner did, which now has been over 7 years ago. And just to not create any sense of any potential conflicts of interest, I recused myself out of really respect for the borough of Edgewater so that there would not be any type of conflict that may have come up in an appeal. I do not feel that there was any conflict. It was my partner, specifically Michael F. Cocker, that was involved with Mr. Davies on several projects in the borough of Edgewater when I was partners with him. I had nothing to do with them whatsoever. But following forward, because I was a partner, I did recuse myself. I spoke with the zoning board attorney. He did not feel there was a conflict after a certain time period. And then at one of the meetings, I know that there's a member of the public that brought it up, so I just recused myself after that, just to make things simple. I do not believe that there's any conflicts. I was not involved in any of those projects that my partner was involved in.
Okay, and I'm just bringing this up to your attention now that I view this as a potential conflict and there should be an independent planner. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down. Anyone else wish to be heard? Hearing none, I'll close the open portion of the meeting. Greg, do we have a conference, any kind of conference now?
Yes, Mayor, I see we have, Mr. Vaza has arrived for a closed session matter involving Department of Public Works contract negotiations and benefits. So what we can do is enter into closed and then reopen later to discuss the remaining items on the agenda, if you so desire.
Do we have a motion to go into closed? Do we have a motion?
Hold on, Mayor, we just get some.
Motion.
Second.
Sorry, I'm like, she was the representative.
Whereas the Borough of Edgewater desires to meet in private in our executive session to discuss matters that are permitted by exceptions to the Open Public Meetings Act as indicated herein, DPW, negotiations, and benefits. Now therefore be resolved that the mayor and council shall recess in private executive closed session to discuss the aforementioned subject matter in the minutes. The same may be disclosed at such time in the future as the governing body has discretion to determine according to.
Do we have a motion? Louis, was that?
I made a motion, yes.
Dave, you were second? Roll call?
Councilman Doran?
Yes.
Councilman Wati?
Yes.
Councilman Verdell?
Yes.
Councilman Jordan?
Yes.
Councilman Bartolome?
Yes.
I just have one point of order, if I may. What kind of a meeting are we having right now?
Work session today.
It's all work session.
Yes.
Okay.